Preparations are well underway for the arrival of 49 political activists who died in Zambia and Zimbabwe. The remains will land at the Waterkloof Air Force Base, where they will be received by the families and various government officials who are part of the planning process. During the 2020 State of the Nation address, President Cyril Ramaphosa announced the Exile Repatriation program, which aims to honor war veterans who fought for the country's freedom. Vuyo Mvoko and Ziyanda Ngcobo are at Waterkloof. Now, Vuyo, a very good afternoon to you. The Defence and Military Veterans spokesperson, Onika Gwangwa, is with you this afternoon. I can imagine that this is a very historic moment, not just for South Africans, but also for the Defence Force and the amount of work that they've put in ensuring that the repatriated are brought back into the country.
A historic moment indeed for the families first of the people who lost their loved ones during their years of exile. They've been looking forward to this moment for literally decades now. But of course, a lot of work has had to go into it, thanks in no small part to the South African National Defence Force, to the team that is with the NPA that has been involved in the groundwork that has had to happen. The Department of Arts, Culture and Sports is, of course, also involved. It's a multidisciplinary team of people that have been working on this project for quite some years now. Of course, the people or the chief principals who will be welcoming the remains of these 49 South Africans are the Departments of Defense and Military Veterans, and of course the Department of Arts, Culture and Sport as well. But to quickly take us through what's going to happen before that big plane that has had to go to Zambia first and then to Zimbabwe, and which will be landing here a few meters to my right. Let's welcome Onika Gwangwa, who is the spokesperson of the Ministry of Defense and Military Veterans. What do we expect to happen the minute that big plane lands here?
Thanks, Vuyo. Yes, the plane will land here at around 3 o'clock. We'll have a moment for about 2 hours where there will be a preparation of the ceremony that is going to take place at 4. And you know that the military veterans, together with the defense, will be here to conduct the ceremony that needs to be conducted. And from there, we'll have the families, which have already started arriving, together with the Minister of Defense and Military Veterans, Minister Mtshega, who will be joining the family to see, the proceedings. And from there, the remains of our hero and heroines will be taken to the One Mill Hospital, where they'll be kept there until Friday.
Now, the moment they land, they're going to be taken inside the hangar, right, to be prepared, right, so that the families can then also see them. Is that correct?
No, the families are not going to see them here. The preparation is because there is a different arrangement of the boxes that were used from the countries where they were departing from, Zambia and Zimbabwe, but the coffins that are going to be used here will be different. So there will be a process where they'll be prepared, moving from this kind of boxes into the coffins, and that is going to be done by the experts that are going to be handled. That is going to be a closed session. We are also not allowed, including the families. And then as soon as that process is done, which will take about 2 hours, then we will have the families accompanied by the minister going into the hangar, which is hangar 10, to then have a view of the ceremonies. There's going to be the defense there. They're going to be doing various guards. We will make sure that we bring them to come and explain that aspect of the SNDF ceremony that they're going to conduct.
Of course, see how that ceremony goes. As you say, we will have people who will explain it to us what exactly Katlego is going to happen the minute, of course, it strikes 4 o'clock, when that formal ceremony inside the hangar will indeed take place. Katlego?
All right, Vuyo, and also on the ground there is Ziyanda Ngobo, who is going to be bringing us more of what's going to be happening. Ziyanda, very good afternoon to you. Now, a bittersweet moment, not just for the families who have been waiting for so many years for the remains of their loved ones who fought so hard for our struggle, and many of whom were ANC fighters.
That's right. That's what we've heard. Most of them coming from the African National Congress, but not limited just to the ANC. Katlego, as you can see behind me, there are various hearses that are standing by. And from our vantage point, we are at the entrance of the hangar where we'll be seeing those 49 coffins that will be draped, we anticipate, with the South African flag. As you've heard there from the Defense Ministry, the touchdown for that plane is at around 3 o'clock. But of course, as you've just mentioned, mainly ANC comrades, but also including those from the PAC as well as the Black Consciousness Movement. But let's talk now to Snuki Zikalala, who is a veteran in the ANC. You've been in the Veterans League, and I can imagine just how a full circle moment this must be as an ANC comrade who would have been in the struggle. But it's taken quite some time to get to this moment, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it took some time. I think we're disturbed by COVID. As people can remember, 3 years ago, before COVID, the president did announce that we're going to repatriate the mortal remains of Comrade Florence Maposho, Duma Nokwe, and Basil February. But immediately after COVID, we as veterans had received a number of applications and letters from families who came to see us and said, look, they want the mortal remains of their loved ones to be repatriated as well. And so as ANC, a decision was taken that let's bring in everybody. And so we then brought in the defense, we brought in NPA, we brought in, make sure that we bring in other stakeholders, arts and culture. And then we told them that draw a budget for this occasion, and this budget is the one that is going to inform the activities. And of course, that was done. And when the 7th administration came in place, Gayton Mackenzie found the file on the table, and so it was executed. And so we're very happy that is happening. This is a first roll call that we're doing. Other comrades will be repatriated from Angola, others from Mozambique, and others from Botswana, and others from Swaziland. And so I think basically families want closure. And so we're not going to repatriate comrades where the families are saying that they are fine. But if families approach us as the ANC, we'll definitely make sure that that happens.
But when I said it's taken a while, I'm talking about the fact that it's 2024, yes. 30 years into democracy. And mind you, the 7th administration is actually a government of national unity. The ANC was in power since 1994. Now, we know in 2006, this TRC unit within the Justice Department was established. But surely, as ANC comrades, this should have been one of your priorities when you took over office in 1994, no?
Yeah, it was one of our priorities, but I think a lot of things happened and it was not implemented. And so we are saying that the president made an announcement about 3 years ago before COVID, and we were blocked by COVID. And so after COVID, immediately we sat down and said, this must happen. And the cabinet then approved the plan itself, and now it's been executed. And so we are just saying we're happy that it has happened. And we're happy that the majority of the families are very happy that they'll find closure. And we are not saying that this is the end of it. It's going to happen with those who are in Mozambique and Angola. Angola, it will be the biggest contingent of our people who will be brought in. After this, that's where we're going to start. We're going to start with Angola. But we said we are not going to repatriate only ANC people. We'll repatriate other comrades who come from Azanla and also Azapo, because they're South Africans who fought for this struggle, who fought for us to have this constitutional democracy. And so we are saying that we're happy that it has happened, and this is the beginning.
Let's talk about, the kinds of struggles that they went through in exile, having to leave your country, some at a young age, the circumstances under which some of these heroes who will be returning home today would have died. One of them drowned, some would have been died because of being ambushed by the apartheid government, for an example. And so this is why then it will be almost a bittersweet, somber, solemn moment as we remember those who passed. So what kind of things did they have to go through in the bush?
Well, I think being in exile was not a bed of roses. It was very difficult because you've been away from home, where you had no contact with your families at all, where you lived in a foreign land, where you have to learn the language, where you have to go and study, or you go to military training, where you did not even think that you'll be able to come to South Africa itself. And some of them died of natural causes, some of them died because they were ambushed by UNITA, and some of them died because they were sick. And so we are saying that it was not a bed of roses. And people risked their lives for what we have today, for this constitutional democracy we have today. That is why we as the African National Congress say, let's make sure that we protect this constitutional democracy. Let's make sure that this government of national unity works. It has to work for all South Africans, not only for those who are in the African National Congress, but for all South Africans. And so we're happy that we're moving forward. We're happy that we'll ensure that there's economic growth in the country, the houses will be built, then we have to get rid of unemployment in the country. Those are the basic things that we have to deal with. And this GNU will definitely have to work and make those things happen.
Speaking of making it work for all South Africans, it cannot be lost on us the irony that this very military that is going to be overseeing at least this part of the program was once the same military under South African Defence Force that was killing some of your comrades in exile.
Well, we have reconciled. And for instance, when I came back from school, I was in the army, in MK when I came back from school, and I was recruited back into the army. And by Joe Modise, because I was one of his lieutenants, his commanders. And I went into the army itself and looked at it. I was going to be a brigadier general. I looked at it and said, look, this is not what I studied for. It's just brown uniform, these are Afrikaners. Where do you start? And these are the people who are killing our young kids in Soweto. These are people that were engaged in battles in Angola. I went to Joe Modise and said, no, thank you, this is not for me now. The pen is mightier than the sword. I went to study, and so I went. And so, but I'm saying that SNDF is transformed. It's transformed in a sense that 80% of generals are generals coming from liberation war movements. And so it is transformed. And so it's better, it is before it was, and so I think it will be better. And so the more we have young people, both black, white, and colored, and so-called colored people joining the army, the better for South Africa. Because what they are doing now, because the Constitution, when you're in the army, you serve the Constitution and nothing else. You have the allegiance to the South African Constitution and not to a government which can dictate to you what to happen. You serve the Constitution of South Africa. And so we're happy that we transform the army. We are happy that we transform the police. We're happy we transform the intelligence as well. And so these are the forces that we're oppressing majority of our people.
And just last one from my side. I mean, when we, think about going forward for these families and what it will mean, but also, in fact, the relationships that you would have had as the ANC with other countries, because part of the reason why this would have stalled is because there's been a change in governments with your fraternal countries. And so, the leadership in Angola would have changed, and Zambia, Zimbabwe, and so it goes. Just talk about those fraternal relations and how they've, are able to be sustained now that most of them have been transformed into political parties, having been liberation movements, and actually, the dynamics of actually running a government.
No, I think our relationship with African countries, those who have it as are very cordial, irrespective of which political party is there. For instance, in Zambia, the Zambian government cooperated 100%. In Zimbabwe, they cooperated 100%. And so we are saying that we still have those solid relationships that we have because it's the people of Zambia, it's the people of Zimbabwe who gave us homage. And so whatever government comes in, they will still remain and maintain that relationship that they had with the African National Congress. And so we have good relationship with all governments in Southern Africa. They'll definitely meet with us when we request that we want to bring the remains. But what is important is that when we exhume our comrades there, we have to make sure that there's a monument that remains there. We can't just leave an open place. We have to make sure that there's monument to say so and so passed away. For instance, my aunt, my wife's aunt, when they removed the remains, and so a tombstone is going to be placed there. So that is a monument for people to know that in this country, it looked after us. It makes sure that our people are buried there, and so it's a monument. And so that's what's going to happen in all the countries where we're going to exhume our people.
All right, that's Snuki Zikalala, the an ANC veteran in his own right.